Hey, what's going on? It's Adam here. And before I get into my background, I want to welcome you to my channel. And I want to know about you. I want to know how you spend your time. I want to know what your calendar looks like. I want to know what you do with your day, how you think about what to do with your day. See, I've been able to work with people from around the world. I've had thousands of people at my virtual events. I've had people at my in-person conferences, people flying to see me, working with them one-on-one for VIP days. I've been doing this work now for 10 years. And one of the things that I look at is what a man's calendar looks like will show me a man's future. What you do with your day is one of the fastest ways to create financial increase, which is this element of time. And for whatever reason, as I dive into people's schedules, one of the things that I'm able to see is just so many tasks that steal time. And one of the things that I like to look at when I look at solving things at a root level is I like to look at the spiritual aspect and I like to look at the practical aspect. And so if you're coming to my channel, that's one of the things that's different about my work is I understand that the world tries to teach you the principles and they take out the prince. And the prince is where the power is. And that's one of the reasons you might even have a hard time listening to personal development because you are very used to a lot of these repeated principles. But there is a spiritual realm that you also know that is just as important as the physical realm. And the greater the vision that you have, the greater resistance you often face in the spiritual realm and in the natural realm. And in order to have wisdom, we got to know how the spiritual realm operates. And so when we talk about this subject of time, one of the things that I like to think about is that, heaven funds wisdom, right? When you are obedient to what God is calling you to, and you look at your time as something to steward and to manage well, God can be able to give you the divine downloads as to how your time should be spent. And when we get this right, we get to see a lot of fruit in our lives. And in the beginning of my own journey, I didn't know how to look at my calendar. I didn't know how to think about what to do with my time. A lot of my days were reactive, and maybe you can relate to that. You wake up, maybe if you have kids, you're getting your kids ready for school. You open up the emails, you check your phone for text messages. You might scroll your phone for the latest updates on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, wherever you spend your time. Next thing you know, you go, shoot, I got to jump into some meetings. So you get on some Zoom calls. You might make some phone calls. You might get a phone call from your mom. Before you know it, you've had a conversation and it's already 11 o'clock, almost time for lunch. So you hop in the car, go grab a bite to eat. It's already noon and you go, where in the world did the day go? Maybe you can relate to that. So the reality is that one of the ways that the enemy distracts you from getting to your vision is he will distract your mind, and before you know it, your time will be stolen. And in order to solve this, I want to give you the way that I think about time, and then I'm going to give you some practical examples, and I'm even going to share some calculations with you that will really demonstrate the power of how your time will be able to create greater increase or whether it'll rob your future. So when you start your day, one of the things that I like to do is I always plan the night before, because I want to be able to define what are the outcomes that I'm trying to hit the next day. And this is where I also define what is enough. And so if I were to ask you, what do you define as enough in your day? So would you say, what are those outcomes? If you were to say, what are the outcomes tomorrow that if you were to accomplish, it would be enough for the day, that move the needle forward to your vision? Most people don't have a clear answer. They don't really know what their outcomes are. They work from a to-do list, but to-dos don't really create to-dos, right? They create more to-dos. And so you knock some things off of your list, and then you end up going back to that list to tackle more things as more things start to come up every day. But outcomes are the things that actually move the needle forward to your visions. And that is what needs to be prioritized. And so if you were to think about these as almost like the building blocks to your vision, what outcomes do you set for your day? So as you think about that, let's say, for example, you have a need to create an extra 5,000 to 10,000 this month as an example. So what are some of those outcomes that if you were to focus on would best set you up to make that extra 5 or 10,000 a day? Well, that would be a great thing to get clear the night before so that when you wake up, that becomes your priority and the to-dos get pushed to get accomplished after the outcomes, or they can be delegated if you're able to delegate them so that you can stay focused on the outcomes, right? So what I like to do is I like to define what enough is. So why do I do that? Is because sometimes you can go to bed each night and you don't really know what enough is. You're like, should I keep working? Should I not? Or if you're with family, your mind is checked out because you're thinking about what you could be doing, or you're doing something with a friend, but you feel like you should be doing something else and you're not able to be present. And it's because you haven't really defined what enough is. And so you're not really sure if enough is enough. And so if you're an A-type, you're driving and driving and driving. And if you're not A-type, then you may not get the outcomes that you need hit. And then you just feel like days go by and nothing is getting done. So one of the things I like to do is define what enough is. And so I'll define that for the next day. And then what I do is every day, my only goal is to protect those outcomes. And so that is the top priority. Now, if I were to go over some illustrations, let's say, for example, you were to spend your time just generating 5 to 10 conversations each day. Let's say they were voice chats. And let's say you can convert 1 or 2 of those into clients, and you were able to enroll a client between 2 to 10,000, right? Well, that would translate to 2 to 10,000 an hour of productive task. So the opposite of that would be spending that hour designing a Canva template, which produces $0. So the difference between the hour having conversion conversations versus designing the hour template is the difference between being in financial struggle and seeing financial success. And what successful people have the ability to do is look at their calendar and see their future. And they can see, oh, there's conversion conversations on my calendar. Therefore, we're going to position ourselves to have increase this month, versus somebody looks at their calendar and they're responding to emails, designing Canva, and there's not necessarily a guarantee that any of those promotions can actually convert. And so that's where you begin to have this incongruent gap, which makes you actually feel worse of like, I know I want to get here, but this is where I'm at. This is the gap that I'm in, right? So when we look at our time, we have to be able to be honest with ourselves. And one of my favorite verses is Psalms 90:12. And it says, teach us to number our days so that we will gain a heart of wisdom, which means that we don't have forever. We've got to be intentional. And I think a lot of people are focused on intensity. They want to work as hard as they can, but they're not intentional. And so what ends up happening is you get a lot of little things done, but not a lot gets done. So we want to be able to make sure that we're preparing our time to prosper. And the beautiful thing is you can actually prepare that, right? So another example here is, let's say you spend time trying to raise your prices by $500. Well, if you're getting an extra 10 clients in a month, for example, that's an extra $5,000 that you generated by just planning and preparing with an extra hour of time on how you could raise your pricing an extra $500. Versus if you spent that hour checking emails, now you may not have any revenue. And so when you look at your calendar, how much of your time is being allocated to create increase versus how much of your time is being responded or being utilized for other people's calendars. And this is how your time gets stolen from you. And so when we look at creating financial increase, we want to make sure that it's on our calendar and that we're using at least a few hours a day of things that we know are going to drive that financial increase versus allowing our schedules to just be dictated by the lives of everyone else around us. So there's another verse here, Proverbs 3:13 through 16. Joyful was the person who finds wisdom. Wisdom is more profitable than silver, and her wages are better than gold. The reality is wisdom out-earns money. So when we look at how to spend our time, one of the things I like to do is I like to go into prayer and meditation. And that's why Joshua 1:8 says to meditate on the word day and night, then you will be successful. Why meditate? Is because as you get in your word, as you realize that your day is not your own, it belongs to God. What are you going to do with your time to steward it well so that you can have fruit, so you can produce fruit in your life? So meditating on where you spend your time is an actual, the stewardship of that is wisdom, right? And wisdom is greater than any compound interest investment that you can make. because your time and what you're able to do is going to create such a great return when you meditate on that. And that's what's something that a lot of people don't think about doing, is meditating on your calendar. When was the last time you meditated and actually sat there and go, what am I going to do with my day today? What am I going to do to create financial increase today? What are going to be the most high value activities that will create the most fruit for my giftings and what I bring to the world? Being able to block out that time and protect it so that nobody can get it. That's when you start to position yourself to create the greatest financial increase. But that's not how many people do it. They just wake up and start their day, and it's just mind-blowing to me because they'll whisper under their breath, God, please provide. And the answer is right in front of them. Their time is being wasted instead of stewarded. So what can you do to steward your time better? Meditate on areas of financial increase. Another example, you can use an hour to gain client testimonials. You know, one of the things that we've been able to do is we have so many business testimonials. I mean, I know a lot of business coaches. I have more documented testimonials than any business coach that I've ever met. And what's cool about it is that I get to share those testimonials with people who are considering to become clients. And so maybe it increases sales an extra 10 to 20%. But let's say, for example, you do 20 to 25,000 and you spend some time generating those testimonials. Now you get an extra 10 to 20% in sales conversions. Now you're looking at maybe an extra 2,000, 2,500 to $5,000 because of that time you spend gathering those testimonials versus spending time designing an email banner, as an example, right? So these are the practical things. And when we take an honest look and we go, what am I doing with my time? Then we're able to see where the leaks are. And these leaks are the root of your financial struggle. And what I want to see for you is for you to plug up those holes, for you to be able to take an honest assessment of what your day is looking like, the activities you're doing. And as you do that, you're going to be able to find money. You're going to find these money gaps. And one of the challenges that makes it fun is being able to go from week to week and going, how can I be wiser with my time today? What's a higher value item that I can focus on today? What's an outcome that I need to achieve tomorrow that I can go into my day from the time I wake up ready to accomplish? What's enough for the day, right? And now you begin to protect those outcomes instead of protecting your to-dos. The reality is busy will often lead you to being broke, and wisdom is very calm and patient because it knows that it's focused on the outcomes. So it's not about intensity, it's about intentionality. It doesn't move so fast. When people generate wealth, they're often relaxed because they're clear. And when you're not clear, you end up very hasty with your day, and you end up scrolling, you end up distracted, and that's exactly what the enemy wants, so that you can get further and further from the vision that God has for you. And so if this spoke to you at all today, my hope that you'd be able to leave today just getting more clarity on what you want to do with your time and what you want your schedule to look like. And if you like this conversation, I want to invite you to our Spirit Driven Success Telegram channel. It's free. I do free trainings on Spirit Driven Success. It's for visionaries and entrepreneurs who are going after God vision, who want to unlock the biblical success principles. And it's just like an amazing discipleship community that I think you would really enjoy being a part of, and it's free. So if you want to be a part of that, I'm going to link that here below this video. And I just want to pray for you before we exit. So God, I just thank you so much for each and every person that's on. You know the vision that's in their heart. And I just pray that you help them get clarity on how to steward their time better, that you will give them greater wisdom, that you will give them greater clarity and greater peace, and that they will be able to move their time into areas that are going to create the growth that you have for them, and that they will be able to resist distractions and to-dos that are taking them away from what you have in store for them, God, that they will be able to utilize their time to create multiplication and not just move in addition, so that they could see the growth and increase that you have set aside for them. And I just pray you give them the boldness to walk into it. In Jesus' name, amen, amen. All right, y'all. Well, thank you guys so much. If you're brand new to my channel, I just want to say welcome. And if you like this kind of content, spirituality, practical growth, you're going to love what we have, as we're on a mission to help you become the financially fittest you by unlocking the wisdom from the inside out. As you increase your mind and you increase what God is doing in you, it's only a matter of time before you increase the amazing things that are around you. So God bless you. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time.